In this video, I'm going to show you 5 common mistakes that newborn parents make that can have a negative impact on their baby's development. And these are mistakes that are very easy to overlook and miss completely. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss important parenting tips like these. Your support helps us reach more families who need this crucial information. For example, this first scenario seems like a typical day with a newborn, but after I describe it, I'll explain why it's not good for your baby's development and what you should do instead. Your newborn wakes up, and after feeding them, you place them in a bouncer to play for a little while. When they get sleepy, you put them in a baby carrier to take a nap. Then when they wake up, it's time to feed again, and afterward, they go back to the bouncer while you get ready for the day. Next, it's time to go shopping, where your baby travels in a car seat. When you arrive at the store, you transfer the car seat, still with the baby inside, onto a stroller frame while you shop. After shopping, you head back home with the baby, who might take another nap in the car seat during the ride. This cycle of transferring from one device to another continues throughout the day until bedtime. This is known as container syndrome or container rotation, and it involves transferring your baby from one container to another throughout the day. These containers include everyday items like bouncers, rockers, car seats, strollers, floor seats for babies, high chairs, jumpers, activity centers, walkers, and baby carriers. While it may not seem harmful at first glance, it presents a hidden problem that affects your baby's development significantly. These devices, by their very nature, keep your baby in a fixed position, severely limiting their ability to move freely. Freedom of movement is absolutely vital for your baby's physical development. Stretching, reaching for objects, kicking, and even the simple act of wiggling around all help to strengthen your baby's muscles and improve their coordination and motor skills. These are foundational skills required for major developmental milestones such as rolling over, crawling, and eventually sitting up independently. Therefore, not being able to move freely can lead to delays or make it challenging for your baby to achieve these critical milestones on time. Furthermore, it is through movement that your baby learns about their body and their environment. As they move around freely, they develop spatial awareness, learn about balance and gravity, and understand cause and effect relationships, like kicking a toy and watching it move or roll away. This learning is crucial for cognitive development and forms the foundation for more complex skills later in life, including problem solving and critical thinking. So if your baby is confined to containers for extended periods throughout the day, they will miss out on these valuable and irreplaceable learning experiences. Now, this isn't to say that you should avoid using baby gear like rockers or bouncers entirely. They definitely come in handy sometimes and serve important purposes. I used to use a rocker to keep my newborn safe while I was cooking in the kitchen or needed to use the bathroom. The message here is moderation and being mindful of how much time your little one is spending in these containers versus on the floor. Now, I often hear a maximum of 15 minutes at a time mentioned as the limit that a baby should spend in a container. But as far as I'm aware, there isn't any specific research that states that 15 minutes is a scientifically established limit. I think when people mention this specific time limit, what they're trying to get across is just the importance of giving your baby frequent opportunities to move around freely without restriction. What I recommend is to try and make sure that the time your baby spends playing on the floor is significantly much more than the time that they spend in these containers. Floor play is absolutely key, whether they're on their back, side, or tummy, as this is where they have the complete freedom to move, explore, and develop their muscles and coordination. So while it's perfectly fine to use these devices when needed for safety or convenience, always try to balance it with plenty of floor time, because this is essential and non-negotiable for your baby's optimal development. Mistake number 2, missing the signs of positional torticollis. This next one is really easy to overlook because its signs are so subtle and gradual. But missing it could have a significant and lasting impact on your baby's development. From the moment they're born until around 3 months of age, you'll notice that your newborn's head naturally falls to one side whether they're awake or asleep. This is perfectly normal due to their still developing neck muscles. However, if you notice that your baby's head always leans to the same side consistently, or if they have difficulty turning their head to one particular side, it could be a sign of something called positional torticollis. Positional torticollis happens when one of your baby's neck muscles, specifically the sternocleidomastoid muscle, is tighter than the other, making them turn their head more easily to one side while struggling to turn it the other direction. If this condition is left untreated and unaddressed, it can affect your baby's development in several significant ways. The tight neck muscles can actually make it challenging for your baby to develop and use their muscles evenly on both sides of their body. This uneven muscle development can lead to difficulties in balancing and coordinating their movements as they grow. And as your baby gets older, this might impact their ability to reach important developmental milestones such as sitting up, crawling, or walking, because their muscles aren't working together symmetrically as they should. Furthermore, the constant head tilt might lead to changes in your baby's posture and body alignment. As your baby grows, these postural changes can become more pronounced and permanent, and may require extensive physical therapy or other medical interventions to correct it properly. And on top of that, the continuous head tilt can significantly increase the chances of your baby developing a flat spot on the back or side of their head, a condition called plagiocephaly, as the pressure is always concentrated on the one side of their skull. And lastly, the limited neck movement can also make breastfeeding considerably harder, particularly on one side, as your baby may struggle to latch on comfortably and maintain a good position during feeding. So given these potential impacts on development, early detection and intervention are absolutely key. If you do notice that your baby is consistently tilting their head to one side, has difficulty turning to one direction, or seems to prefer looking one way, it's a good idea to book an appointment with a pediatric physiotherapist or physical therapist as soon as possible. They will be able to assess your baby properly and recommend specific exercises or other treatments to help loosen your baby's tight neck muscles so it doesn't have as significant of an impact on their development. Mistake number 3, dismissing head, flattening as normal. This next mistake is commonly dismissed as a normal part of newborn development that will self-correct over time, and it's easy to understand why parents make this assumption. At birth, newborns often have elongated or unusually shaped heads. This is completely normal and is due to their position in the uterus during pregnancy and the molding of their flexible skull bones as they pass through the narrow birth canal during delivery. However, what many parents don't realize is that most babies' heads return to a normal, rounded shape within about 6 weeks after birth, as the skull bones settle into their proper position. Therefore, if you notice a flat spot on the back or side of your baby's head persisting beyond this time, you might assume that it's still a normal part of this reshaping process and will correct itself with time and growth. But in reality, this could be a condition known as positional plagiocephaly or flat head syndrome. Positional plagiocephaly occurs when flattening develops on the skull bones at the back or side of your baby's head, usually from spending too much time in one position. And while positional plagiocephaly doesn't directly impact brain development or cognitive function, it can affect your baby's appearance, leading to asymmetrical head or facial growth, ear misalignment, and sometimes even vision problems if severe. And in serious cases, medical interventions such as helmet therapy may be needed to reduce the flattening and correct facial asymmetry. So if you do notice any persistent flattening on the back or side of your baby's head after 6 weeks of age, it is important to discuss it with your baby's doctor as soon as possible. Early intervention makes treatment much more effective and can prevent the condition from worsening. Mistake number 4, improper baby wearing position. This next one has to do with baby wearing and the significant impact it can have on your baby's hip development. During the first 6 months of life, your baby's hips are still developing and forming properly, and as such, the way you wear them in a carrier plays a crucial role in shaping their hip joints and ensuring healthy development. If your baby's legs hang straight down with their thighs close together while you wear them for hours at a time, it can negatively impact their hip development and increase the risk of problems. Being in this narrow, legs-together position for extended periods can increase the risk of a serious condition called developmental dysplasia of the hip, or DDH. DDH occurs when the ball of a baby's hip joint isn't properly positioned in the hip socket, causing the hip to be loose, unstable, and improperly aligned. And in severe untreated cases, it can even cause the hip joint to partially or completely dislocate. Although DDH typically isn't painful for babies in infancy, if left untreated, it can lead to significant issues later on in childhood and adulthood. Your child may develop a noticeable limp, or they may walk on their toes or develop an abnormal waddling gait. And over time, they could develop early-onset arthritis at the hip joint, which can be extremely painful and debilitating, and might even require a total hip replacement surgery later in life. So to reduce this risk and support healthy hip development, the International Hip Dysplasia Institute recommends that you wear your baby so that they're facing you, chest to chest, for the first 6 months of life. And when you are wearing them in a carrier, you want to ensure that their knees are spread apart with their legs wrapped around your body or torso. Their hips should be bent so that their knees are positioned slightly higher than their bottom, and their thighs should be well supported by the carrier fabric. This M-shaped or frog-like position is the optimal position for healthy hip development and reduces stress on the hip joints. Mistake number 5, letting baby sleep in bouncers and swings. This next mistake doesn't necessarily hinder your baby's development, but it does significantly increase their risk of suffocation and death. So I feel like it's an absolutely critical one to mention and discuss. And that is letting your baby sleep in baby bouncers, rockers, swings, and gliders. And here's exactly why this is so dangerous. When you place your baby in these baby seats, they're positioned at an inclined angle rather than flat. And if they were to fall asleep in this angled position, their head can tilt forward, causing their chin to press down on their chest. This chin-to-chest position can block their airways, making it difficult or impossible to breathe properly. This dangerous situation is called positional asphyxiation. And what's most concerning about positional asphyxiation is that it's silent and can go completely unnoticed. A baby struggling to breathe may not show obvious signs of distress or make noise. Therefore, even if you're in the same room, watching your baby sleeping peacefully in one of these devices, you may not realize that something is terribly wrong until it's too late. This is why organizations like Red Nose Australia and the American Academy of Pediatrics strongly recommend using bouncers, rockers, swings, and nursing chairs only when you are actively supervising and watching your baby. If your baby falls asleep in one of these devices, you should immediately move them to a flat, firm sleep surface like a crib or bassinet. If you want more help regarding infant development, specifically about what you can do at each age to promote healthy development, what to avoid, the best toys for your little one's development, what you should and shouldn't expect to see as development progresses, and much more, then you might be interested in my Play, Develop, Thrive program, which is linked in the description below. In addition to never letting your baby sleep in rockers, bouncers, swings, or nursing chairs, there are also some items that should never be in the crib. This is because these sleep products, while they seem completely harmless and are heavily marketed, can significantly increase the risk of suffocation, overheating, positional asphyxiation, and other serious problems. So watch the next video to find out exactly what these dangerous products are and why you should keep them far away from your baby's crib. And if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with other parents who need to know these critical safety tips. Your baby's safety and development depend on avoiding these common mistakes. See you in the next video.